Ladies and gentlemen, in some people's opinion, Tears of the Kingdom is the greatest Zelda game of all time. It's a sequel to Breath of the Wild, and they just make a great duo of games. Like, Breath of the Wild changed everything, Tears of the Kingdom added upon that. But what's the next Zelda game going to be like? Well, we actually have an answer, and this comes from the producers of the Zelda games themselves. Let's go ahead and break it down. So, yes, Tears of the Kingdom is phenomenal. It's massive. It's almost a chore in itself because there's just so much to do. I did enjoy it, but I'm kind of looking forward to a more linear Zelda game. People are wondering, what's the next Zelda game going to be like? Is it going to be a trilogy? Like a sequel to Tears of the Kingdom? Well, we have an answer directly from the producers themselves. Before we get started, if you could hit a like and subscribe. We're getting so close to 6,000 subscribers. It's freaking crazy. And down below is links to Instagram and Discord. Come and join the community. But let's go ahead and get into this video. Next Legend of Zelda game, unlikely to be a direct sequel to Tears of the Kingdom. Zelda series producer, I can never pronounce his name correctly, so I'm not even going to try, comments that the next game in the franchise is likely not going to be a direct sequel to The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. With Tears of the Kingdom out now, there have been fans who are wondering if it could be built upon further, either through DLC or another sequel to make it a trilogy. Dude, my ring light is completely broken and like taped together, so my camera is always this way, that way, forwards, backwards. So forgive me if it gets wonky. I'm on a budget here. Maybe I can get a new one next year, but yeah, people are wondering, like, Tears of the Kingdom, this is great. When's the DLC coming? And as far as they've said, there's going to be no DLC. And I know it sounds strange, but me myself, I don't care because I think Tears of the Kingdom Adventure is enough and there's enough stuff to do. But I know that 99% of the people would like DLC and at least a master mode or something. But having no DLC just lets me know that they are completely done with this. This being Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom style Zelda. Like, and I said it myself, like, how would you ever improve Tears of the Kingdom? Like, how would you make a Zelda game better than that in the same style? It's almost like shooting yourself in the foot. It just doesn't seem like a real possibility. Not saying it can't be done, but like the kind of pressure and stress that would come from something like that, I just can't imagine it. I think this was not an experiment, but it was like something they wanted to do. They did it. It's time to move on. Fans shouldn't hold their breath. As series producer, I'm gonna skip that part, stated that developers wouldn't be making any. There are no plans to release additional content, stating they have done everything they could do to make this world and version of Hyrule as fun as possible. Exactly what I'm saying. So in a recent interview, they were asked if there would be a direct sequel, since the developers had accomplished everything they wanted to do and no DLC is currently planned. He simply laughed, stating that it would make a sequel of a sequel, calling the idea wild as well. But isn't a sequel of a sequel a trilogy? Just saying. He then reiterated that since the team was already building upon Breath of the Wild through Tears of the Kingdom, they were looking to push its gameplay to the very limit. With Tears of the Kingdom, we were seeking to build on top of the world we created with Breath of the Wild, and really exhausted the possibilities of what we could put into the world. If I'm not mistaken, which I could be, when Breath of the Wild came out, like, people enjoyed it, and then they dropped, I think, 2 DLCs for it, if I'm not mistaken, and that they were thinking of dropping even more DLC for it, but it was just too massive, so they decided to go ahead and make a sequel to the game. Like, Tears of the Kingdom started as DLC that was just too much, so they decided to just make a whole nother game. He stated, I think it is, to use a bit of a term, an hypothesis, or the final form of that version of Legend of Zelda. In that regard, I don't think we'll be making a direct sequel to a world such as that we've created. They were asked if Tears of the Kingdom's Ultra Hand ability could make a return in future games, given how integral it was to the gameplay. He noted that since the Ultra Hand was something that allowed players to create whatever they wanted, it provided content-rich experience, which also contributed to the decision to not make DLC for the game. Very, very interesting. The director of the game also chimed in, stating that the Ultra Hand was such an integral part of Tears of the Kingdom that bringing it back in future games would devalue it, stating that it would feel like we're just bringing in Tears of the Kingdom as is. Very neat idea. That just means, hey, that's Tears of the Kingdom. For the next Zelda game, we'll make new, I don't want to say gimmicks, but we'll make new features that help you identify that as this Zelda game. When you think of Ocarina of Time, you think of the Ocarina. When you think of the Wind Waker, you think of the actual Wind Waker device. And Tears of the Kingdom, you think of Ultra Hand. And Breath of the Wild, what do you think of? I can't think right now. This is all very interesting to me, and I think it's the perfect cherry on top. I think Tears of the Kingdom did everything and more than it should have done. I think it's done. I think it's time to move on. I think Zelda games shine when they are more linear. Like, I'm playing Wind Waker right now. We're actually playing it on stream every Saturday night on YouTube. Come hang out. But having a more linear story and having like actual goals to go and do in a certain order, it helps you really immerse yourself and engage yourself. I think Zelda games really shine when there's a set path, like Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword. Even the old school stuff, like A Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, Minish Cap. Like, these Zelda games are so freaking good and so timeless. It's a story that I guess everybody can share the same experience. You know, you'll play this game and you'll be like, hey, you remember when you went here and did this? And then you had to go and do this, but you couldn't find it, so you went there and then did this? Everybody's gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember that. And you can share that same experience. In Breath of the Wild and in Tears of the Kingdom, not saying this is a bad thing at all, but everybody's experience, kind of for the most part, is going to be different. Like, yeah, you have some of the same goals, but the way that you do them and when you go and do them and how you do them, I don't know how I'm saying do them over and over, but everybody's experience can be different. You can be like, yeah, I went and I fought this guy, but I used this weapon. You're like, oh, use that weapon? I use this weapon. Or I went here first and then I did that. And it's fun to share those experiences, but nobody really shares the same experience. So I do really appreciate older Zelda games. Saying older, like it's only been 2 games since Zelda games were the old style, but I just really appreciate them more. And as Zelda being my favorite franchise of all time, I think I enjoy the older games more. Yeah, I don't want to open the world Zelda game for a while, for like another console generation. I hope we don't get any open world Zelda games on the Switch too. But that's just me. I also kind of feel like the Nintendo producers and directors and creators don't want that for a while as well. But now I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Do you think we should have a trilogy, like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and something else? Would you like another open world Zelda game? Or do you want to go back to the more straightforward Zelda games, like dungeon-esque Zelda games? What are your thoughts on this? I'd love to hear from you guys. And remember, if you enjoy this kind of content, then hit a like and subscribe. We're getting very close to 6,000 subscribers. Come and hang out on stream Saturday night right here on YouTube. We're having a lot of fun. And join the community. Discord and Instagram is down below. I'd love for you guys to be a part of it. But you guys know me. I'll see you soon with a new video. Peace out.